Pew pew! Hi guys, it's Mandy from Mandyleeplays, and in this video, I am doing 7 action RPGs for your Switch that you should totally check out. Now, I've gone on the record on this channel saying that I prefer turn-based RPGs, but that doesn't mean I don't love a good action RPGs. If it's done right, it is so fun and engaging, but keyword here, if it's done right. But before we get into that, I'm trying to get to 6K by the end of this year, so if you like RPG content, list videos, opinionated videos, and just my goofy face, then please subscribe if you're not yet subscribed. Now, without further ado, let's get into the list. Number 1 on this list is Neo, The World Ends With You. So we're starting off with a banger. I mean, all the games on this list is a banger, but this one's good. Now, I'm sure a lot of you haven't heard about this game, and that's because Square Enix did not give it the love it deserves when it came to marketing, and the series altogether doesn't really get much love. I'm surprised that a sequel came out because a lot of people did not know about the first World Ends With You. This game is a direct sequel to The World Ends With You, although you don't necessarily need to play the original since the story is fine in its own little bubble. But I highly recommend you guys play the first one because it does lay a lot of groundwork for what you're going to be getting in the second. Now, the first, The World Ends With You, was actually made for the DS, and it utilized a lot of the DS functions like the dual screen and the stylus and stuff. So when they ported it to the Switch, it was pretty clunky, not gonna lie. Now, Neo The World Ends With You has a very good gameplay mechanic because it was built for the Switch instead of a DS game to be ported to the Switch. The combat takes a new approach in Neo The World Ends With You with its traditional arena combat like action RPG where each character you play takes control of a singular pin. The amount of pins you could collect in this game is huge. There's like hundreds of them. Plus, the character roster in this game is really deep, which allows you to create different combinations of pins to use in battle. Speaking of combinations, combos are a big thing in this game, which are heavy damage dealers if you pull them off right. I had a hard time with the combos. I don't know why, but once I got them down, it was really easy. The combat is very smooth and it flows just right. And plus, the music in this game is really good. It has that hip-hop feel to it, which is cool. This is all paired with a modern looking aesthetic that screams punkish and really brings out the hustle and bustle of modern day Shibuya. One day I want to go to Shibuya. I've seen it so many times in video games, so I want to actually go to the place. So why did I add this on the list? Well, the combat, of course, but I also wanted to add this because hopefully somebody ends up enjoying Neo The World Ends With You because they saw it on my list, and more people in the community is a good thing. Next on the list is Star Ocean: The Second Story R. If you want to hear my first impressions about the game, I will leave a link for it in the description. And Star Ocean: The Second Story R is one of the few JRPGs that have sci-fi elements. So Star Ocean: The Second Story R, man, I'm saying that way too much, is actually a remake, hence the R, of Star Ocean: The Second Story that came out in 1998 for the PlayStation 1. So in Second Story R, you get to choose between 2 protagonists. One is Clyde and the other is Reina. The combat is much akin to the older Tales games if you played those, where you control one character in an arena while the other characters are controlled by AI. You could also unleash arts at the cost of MP. Enemies have a shield bar that you could lower it to break it, and when they're broken, you could go all out and hit them where it hurts. Once battles are said and done, you get skill points, which leads me into the talent and creation mechanic. Now, I won't go too deep nitty-gritty with that because it's in my first impressions and it's very long-winded, so if you want to check that out, go watch my first impressions. But the TLDR is you could invest points for skills to craft better armor, improve your fishing, or summon a huge cute rabbit so you could ride along with very fast across the map. I love that one. It's called the bunny call. It's so cute. Honestly, the IC skills are so engaging to me because you could put them in arts or writing, you could do different stuff, and it's really fleshed out. It could kind of feel overwhelming, especially if you're a newcomer, but I feel like as a newcomer, I really like that mechanic because I like crafting mechanics. Now, I added this on this list because of the fact that this game originally came out in 1998 when turn-based mechanics reigned supreme. So for this game to kind of come out of its bubble and do an action-based RPG that's sci-fi, so Star Ocean's unique approach and gameplay and setting really sets it apart, especially in 1998 where that is probably a huge risk, and that's probably why Star Ocean isn't like like Final Fantasy or Persona or things like that, because it dared to try something different. And it's actually really good, and it has a strong fan base, so I am really hoping for Star Ocean to make a comeback in the future. Next one on the list is Xenoblade Lacrimosa of Dana. I probably mispronounced that, but don't at me, I am sorry. Some people say YS, I say Yeast. To put it simply, Xenoblade was enjoyable from beginning to end in both the story and the gameplay. I'm going to be talking about the gameplay more in this video, but the story premise is really good. Now, I know I'm going to mispronounce the protagonist's name. I'm just going to call him Adol.
Adol.
No, that sounds wrong too. I'm going to call him Idol. So our protagonist, Idol, is on a cruise ship with his friend, and they're having a good time going to their next adventure. But little did they know, their adventure was right there, because the boat starts to sink and everything's going crazy, and everyone just ends up washed in the beach. So you have to scavenge for food, build a hideout, find other people that might have washed ashore, and just build a whole community on that island, because they can't get off the island. Though Idol got it really lucky, because apparently we were on a cruise ship with doctors, with leaders, fighters, everything you'll need in a stranded island, we got stranded with. Anyways, let me go and describe the gameplay because it's good as well. This is definitely one of my favorite action games on the Switch when it first came out. The basic structure of the game is that you land on an island, create temporary settlements, and explore nearby areas. As you explore, you find survivors, bring them back to your settlement, and rinse and repeat. Gameplay is fairly standard for an action RPG. You move around in an open field, attack freely with a button, and you have a meter for special attacks that you could use at any time. Up to 2 other party members can join you in the field at the same time, with up to 6 total party members that you could freely swap between them at any time. What Ys 8 does super well is motivating me to control other characters throughout the entire game by exploring weapons and weaknesses. It doesn't fall into that trap of you want to just use the protagonist all the time. Now, this is nothing groundbreaking, but it meshes together so well, especially with the story, the concept and setting, and the gameplay. A very nice mix, and I really enjoy the game. Now, there are these moments where you have to do like a tower control kind of game. I hated those. I still hate those, but it's not the main gameplay of the game. It's just a little sequence that you have to do, and I love how everything's just simple. Nothing has to be some bombastic gameplay, you know, world-ending attacks kind of vibe. People like me still enjoy a simple classic approach to the gameplay. Now, while I did enjoy this on the Switch, I kind of wish I got the PS5 version, because I watched gameplay of that. Like, it looked like a different game, but the Switch version is still really good. Next on this list is a very personal game for me. It's one of my favorite games of all time, and that is Nier Automata. So back when the Switch version came out, Square Enix gave me a code to review the Switch port. It runs really good on the Switch too. Now, I do have a video about Nier Automata. I'll leave in the description, and I'm not gonna go into story and stuff. It pains me because the story is just so beautiful, but we're going to stick with the gameplay here. So the gameplay of Nier Automata was developed by Platinum Games, who are most known for Astral Chain and Bayonetta. Now, I know the game feels like a hack and slash. That's partly due to it being made by Platinum Games, and Bayonetta is a hack and slash, but it is an RPG. I'm not gonna go into the semantics of what makes an RPG an RPG. That honestly is a video on its own, but it's an RPG. With Platinum's touch, you are getting a tight and satisfying gameplay. You do level up in this game to help improve 2B and 9S with chips that can modify their stats and help them with various enemies. Now, these chips are important in a story perspective, but also really important in a game perspective. Your customization of chips is really important, and there's a ton of different variants that do a ton of different things. For me, I like to input the chips that make my character run faster, so I was basically Sonic all over the place. There's a whole bunch of customization in these chips, and you usually find them in the overworld. Now, if you just thought you were getting hacking and slashing, you're probably right, but this game does implement the occasional gameplay changes. You could go from a platformer in one section and then a bullet hell shump in the next section. So I put this on my list mainly because the gameplay is fire, and I highly highly recommend, but it's one of my favorite games of all time. It has a impact in me that I really can't say because it goes into story spoilers, but it really impacted me. It's one of those games where I just couldn't stop thinking about it for a long time. I still think about it to this day. This game just means so much to me, and every time someone asks, I always recommend Nier Automata. Now the next game is Silent Hope. Silent Hope was developed by Marvelous, who makes Rune Factory and Story of Season games. In this game, you control 7 different characters with different set skills. You have your warrior who swings a typical sword, you have the rogue who is good with dual blades, and you also have quirky characters like the farmer who uses a pitchfork. All 7 characters play well and unique. Now this is kind of a dungeon crawling game because you are tasked with entering this thing called the Abyss, and you have to eliminate the monsters and figure out its secrets. Before you jump though, you could cook food to help you in battles, you could make new weapons or upgrade your old ones, and create different items using alchemy, woodworking, I think that's what it's called. And the whole gimmick of this game is nobody talks except for the princess. That's why it's called Silent Hope, though the princess does talk a lot, like a lot. I generally appreciate how Silent Hope is very easy to pick up and play, and it's also very forgiving if you mess up and get KO'd, but if you are one of those who are seeking a challenge, this game does get challenging at times. Now I know games with heavy combat are not necessarily cozy, but for me, it was personally cozy because it wasn't just boring or anything. So if you want a cozy RPG adventure, this game's for you. Next on the list is Xenoblade Chronicles 3, and Future Redeem is actually really good. Although I have more love for Xenoblade Chronicles 1, which in my opinion has the best story, I would be lying if I said it had the best combat, because Xenoblade Chronicles 3 has the best combat. Never have I seen a game to undertake an open world that is filled with various monsters, and you have a full party of 7, and it looks really beautiful with minimal hitches. What the heck did you put in this game, Monolith Soft? I would love to know. Now for the gameplay. This is where it gets a little unique. The characters automatically attack the enemy they are locked onto, and as your character is attacking the enemy, you fill up your different arts and overtime. Once filled, you could execute them at any time. Now the art is dependent on your character's class, and I love the way how this game treats classes. I love figuring out how one class works well with the other. And the gimmick of this game, well, I wouldn't say gimmick, but the big thing in Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is the Ouroboros forms and interlinking. Interlinking is a very complicated game mechanic in the game, but basically when interlinking, you have one interlink partner throughout the whole game, and you could deal heavy damage on your foes. Now, depending on where you are in interlinking, the damage may vary. Like level 1 interlinking doesn't do as much damage as level 2 and level 3. Always try to go for level 3. And then there's the also satisfying chain attack. I love the chain attacks. Chain attacks allow for many battle arts and other attacks to be performed in succession. You could really get your chain attack numbers high. I've done mine in the millions. It's insane, and I love it. Now, there's a lot of gameplay mechanics that go into Xenoblade Chronicles 3. It's not really a simple and clean kind of vibe. You're gonna really have to learn the mechanics and the world to really get the best experience out of it. Though I will say the tutorials are very annoying. They pop up all the time. Even towards the end, they started popping up. I'm like, when does it end? But that just goes to show you how vast and deep the gameplay mechanics go. I remember when I first got this game and I just played overnight, like literally all night. I haven't done that in a while, but for this game, I was just absorbing it all and just played throughout the night. It was such a good experience. And the last game on the list is No Kuni 2. Now, No Kuni 2 is a very cute game, easy on the eyes, thanks to its Studio Ghibli inspirations. Now, again, I'm gonna go straight to the gameplay, but the story itself is just very whimsical and fantasy, nothing too big, but it's still pretty good. Now, for the gameplay, battles take place in real time, and players control a single character while the AI controls the other party members. You can switch between party members during battle, utilizing their unique abilities and skills. Characters have both main melee and ranged attacks. One of the unique aspects of Ni no Kuni's combat system is the introduction of hillgillies. Probably mispronounced that. Hillgillies are basically the replacement to familiars if you played Ni no Kuni 1. They are very cute and they can be found throughout the world, and they come in 6 different types: normal, water, fire, wind, light, and dark. They can be summoned to aid in various ways, such as healing, attacking, or providing buffs. Also, battles are not the only thing different in this game. Your main character Evan, who is the former king, got usurped from power and is now tasked with rebuilding his kingdom. And this is where the other mechanic comes from. You're basically building the kingdom, recruiting citizens, constructing buildings, and conducting research to improve on various aspects of the kingdom. But that's not the only thing you play around in this game, because a kingdom needs an army, which is where the skirmish modes come in. Now, I did not like the skirmish modes. I avoided it like the plague. I hate tower control like games. I don't like them at all. But the rest of the gameplay is awesome. To me, the fun came in making my kingdom, recruiting different characters, getting the best out of my facilities. To me, that's fun. I really love games like that, and when they implement it into an RPG, I'm just like, oh my god, best thing ever. The only bad thing is those stupid skirmishes. I hope this list helped you guys in any way. If you have action RPGs that I missed and you want to recommend, please let me know in the comments down below, and let others know in the comments down below. And if you like this video, then please hit that like button. I really would appreciate it. And if you like my content and would love to see more, then slap that subscribe button. You can follow my socials in the description down below. I hope you guys have a beautiful rest of the day, and as always, play a good game. Peace.